Gabriel is anxious to reunite with Laura, his great love from the past, believing that they will finally have the chance to be together. But before entering the cafe where they agreed to meet, a man stops him and issues a warning. You don't know what she is planning. Now Gabriel is torn between following his heart or heeding the ominous warning that could change his life forever. Who is that man, and what does he know about Laura? Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is Linda's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. Gabriel had always been a man of routine. He woke up early, drank his black coffee without sugar, and went to the law firm where he had worked for years. His life was predictable and comfortable, just the way he liked it. At 31 years old, he had built a solid and respectable career, but something always seemed to be missing. On an ordinary Thursday night, while idly checking his social media, a notification made his heart skip a beat. It was a message from Laura, his first and only true love from adolescence. 15 years had passed since the last time they saw each other, when their parents abruptly separated them without explanation. Laura, now a 30-year-old woman, worked as a literature teacher at a local school. Her wavy brown hair and honey-coloured eyes remained the same, although her face had acquired the maturity of the years. She lived in a small apartment in the suburbs, surrounded by books and memories of a life that could have been different. Laura's message was simple but filled with emotion. Hi, Gabriel. It's been a while. How have you been? Those few words were enough to awaken an avalanche of long-dormant feelings in Gabriel's heart. In the following months, Gabriel and Laura reconnected through long conversations by messages and phone calls. They shared their lives, their achieved dreams, and those left behind. Each day, the flame of their old love seemed to rekindle, stronger and more mature than before. Gabriel talked about his work at the law firm, the long hours dedicated to cases, and the satisfaction of helping people through the law. Laura, on the other hand, shared funny stories about her students and her love for literature. Both felt that time had not diminished the connection they had. As weeks passed, it became increasingly clear that what they felt went beyond mere nostalgia. It was as if destiny had given them a second chance, an opportunity to resume what had been interrupted so many years ago. Finally, after months of virtual conversations, they decided to meet in person. They chose a cosy cafe in the city centre, a neutral and public place, perfect for a reunion after so many years. On the morning of the meeting, Gabriel woke up with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. He spent more time than usual choosing his outfit, opting for a light blue shirt that Laura always said matched his eyes. He left home with his heart racing, feeling once again like the love-struck teenager he had been 2 decades ago. The chosen cafe was a charming place, with dark wooden tables and a delicious aroma of freshly roasted beans in the air. Gabriel arrived a few minutes before the agreed time, choosing a table near the window where he could see Laura arriving. While he waited, 1,000 thoughts ran through his head. What if she had changed too much? What if the connection they felt online didn't exist in person? But above all, there was a growing certainty that this moment could change his life forever. When there were only a few minutes left until the scheduled time, Gabriel decided to go to the bathroom to check his appearance one last time. As he got up and walked towards the door of the cafe, he felt a firm hand grab his arm. "You're about to make the biggest mistake of your life," said a deep and familiar voice. Surprised, Gabriel turned around and found himself facing Alfred, his father's old and loyal driver. Alfred, a man in his 60s, with grey hair and a worried look, had been a constant figure in his childhood and adolescence. "Alfred, what are you doing here?" Gabriel asked, confused and a little annoyed by the interruption. "Your father sent me, Gabriel. You have no idea what she is planning," Alfred replied, his voice laden with concern. Gabriel looked at the clock, realising Laura would arrive at any moment. "What are you talking about, Alfred? Who planned what?" "Laura," Alfred whispered, glancing around as if he feared being overheard. "She is not here by chance. There's more to this story than you can imagine." Gabriel felt a wave of confusion and disbelief. This is ridiculous. Laura and I reconnected by chance. She found me on social media. Nothing is by chance when it comes to your family, Alfred replied. Your father has reasons to believe that Laura is planning revenge against your family. Gabriel laughed, incredulous. Revenge? Why would Laura want revenge on us? That doesn't make any sense. Alfred seemed uncomfortable, as if he were torn between his loyalty to Gabriel's father and the affection he had for Gabriel himself. There are things from the past that you don't know, things that happened between your father and Laura's father. Please be careful. At that moment, Gabriel saw Laura entering the cafe. She looked beautiful, wearing a floral dress and a nervous smile, looking around for him. I need to go, Alfred, Gabriel said, releasing his arm. I don't know what my father told you, but I know Laura. This is nonsense. Alfred sighed, defeated. Just be careful, Gabriel. I'll be around if you need me. Gabriel walked away, trying to push Alfred's words out of his mind. He approached Laura with a smile, although his heart was now divided between the joy of the reunion and the seed of doubt planted by Alfred. Laura, he said, hugging her. The hug lasted longer than usual for old friends, laden with emotions repressed for years. Gabriel, she replied, her eyes shining. I can hardly believe we're here. They sat down, ordered coffee, and began an animated conversation about their current lives and memories from the past. Gabriel tried to focus on Laura's words, her smile, the way she gesticulated as she spoke, but he couldn't completely ignore Alfred's presence, who was now sitting at a distant table, pretending to read a newspaper. As Laura talked about her students and her job, Gabriel found himself analysing every word, every gesture, searching for signs of any hidden intention. But all he saw was the same Laura as always, sweet, funny, and passionate about life. The meeting lasted for hours, both reluctant to say goodbye. When they finally got up to leave, Gabriel felt a mixture of emotions: happiness for the reunion, confusion over Alfred's words, and a growing irritation with his father for interfering in his life. That night, unable to contain his frustration, Gabriel went to his father's mansion, determined to get answers. The imposing house, with its well-tended gardens and discreet security, had always made him feel small, even in adulthood. He found his father in the study. Richard was an imposing man, with grey hair and a piercing gaze that intimidated even the most experienced executives. "Why did you send Alfred to follow me?" Gabriel asked bluntly as soon as he entered the room. Richard looked up from the papers he was reading, showing no surprise. "So Alfred spoke to you?" "Yes, he spoke. And he said a lot of nonsense about Laura planning revenge." "What is this all about, Dad?" Richard sighed, standing up and pouring himself a glass of whiskey. "Gabriel, you need to understand that our family is not ordinary. We are powerful, influential, and that comes with certain risks." "Risks?" Gabriel asked, incredulous. "We're talking about Laura, Dad, the girl I loved in my teenage years." "And the daughter of a man who swore to destroy our family," Richard replied, his voice laden with bitterness. "Laura's father and I were partners once, but he was a troublemaker, always wanting more than he deserved. We had a disagreement." Gabriel felt the anger growing inside him. A misunderstanding. And that justifies spying on me, following me. Richard looked at his son with a mixture of frustration and concern. "You never noticed, but you've always been watched, Gabriel. It's for your own protection." The revelation hit Gabriel like a punch in the stomach. His entire life, every moment he thought was private, had been monitored. "This is madness, Dad. You can't control my life like this." "I can and I must," Richard replied firmly. "You are my son and heir. I need to protect you even if you don't understand." Gabriel shook his head, feeling suffocated. "No, Father. This ends now. I am an adult and I can make my own decisions. And I choose to trust Laura." He left the office, leaving his father behind, determined to uncover the truth on his own. In the days that followed, Gabriel divided his time between work, dates with Laura, and a silent investigation into both his and Laura's family history. Every moment with Laura was magical. They walked through the park, dined in cozy restaurants, and spent hours talking about everything and nothing. Gabriel felt his heart open more and more, but the shadow of doubt planted by his father still lingered. Laura, on the other hand, seemed completely in love. She talked about her dreams of travelling, writing a book, always including Gabriel in those future plans. Her laughter was contagious, and her eyes sparkled when she looked at him. Meanwhile, Gabriel's investigation led him to disturbing discoveries. Ancient documents, conversations with former employees, and newspaper archive research painted a grim picture of his father's past. The truth came to light like a tsunami, devastating and relentless. His father, the man he had always admired, had deliberately sabotaged and destroyed Laura's father's company years earlier. Using his influence and connections, Richard orchestrated a financial scandal that brought Laura's family to ruin. Gabriel's heart broke as he imagined Laura and her family facing financial hardships, all the suffering caused by his own father's greed. Guilt and shame consumed him, even though he knew he was not responsible for his father's actions. With this revelation, the words of his father's driver that day at the cafe took on a new meaning. Could it be possible that Laura was indeed getting close to him out of revenge? The idea tormented him, but something in his heart refused to believe it. Determined to face the situation head-on, Gabriel invited Laura for dinner at his apartment. As he prepared the meal, his heart was heavy. Laura arrived radiant with a bouquet of flowers for Gabriel. "To decorate your bachelor pad," she joked, giving him a gentle kiss. During dinner, the conversation flowed naturally, as always. Laura talked excitedly about a new project at school, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Gabriel observed her, searching for any sign of insincerity, any indication that her feelings were not genuine. But all he saw was the woman he was falling more and more in love with. Finally, gathering all his courage, Gabriel put his cutlery aside and looked deeply into Laura's eyes. "We need to talk about something important," he said, his voice trembling. Laura noticed the seriousness in his tone and nodded, worried. "What is it, Gabriel? Did something happen?" Gabriel took a deep breath. "Laura, I discovered something about the past, about our families." Laura's face paled and she lowered her eyes. "You know," she whispered. "Yes," Gabriel replied, feeling his heart tighten. "I know what my father did to your family, and I understand if you are here for revenge." Laura raised her eyes, surprised and hurt. "Revenge? Gabriel, no, Please be honest with me," Gabriel pleaded. "I need to know the truth." Laura remained silent for a moment, tears forming in her eyes. "When I looked you up on social media, yes, there was a plan," she finally admitted. "I wanted to get close, maybe find something I could use against your father. But Gabriel?" She held his hands across the table. "That changed the moment we started talking. All those feelings I had in my teens came back stronger than ever." Gabriel felt a mixture of relief and pain. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because I was afraid," Laura replied, the tears now running freely down her face. "Afraid of losing you again. And because I knew that if we stayed together, we would eventually have to face this truth. How could we build something knowing what your father did to my family?" Gabriel squeezed Laura's hands. "I am not my father, Laura, and I can't change the past, but I can try to do what is right now." Laura looked at him with a mixture of love and sadness. "I know you are not your father, Gabriel. That's why I fell in love with you. But I can't pretend it doesn't affect me. I think we both need time to think." Laura stood up to leave. Gabriel walked her to the door, feeling as if he was losing her again. Before she left, Laura turned and kissed him gently. "I love you, Gabriel, but sometimes love is not enough." In the days that followed, Gabriel plunged into deep reflection. He knew he couldn't change his father's actions, but maybe he could do something to rectify the mistakes of the past. Using his skills as a lawyer and the resources he had at his disposal, Gabriel began to build a case against his own father. He gathered evidence, witnesses, and documents that proved the fraud committed years ago. The process was painful and exhausting. Gabriel faced his father's wrath, his family's shock, and media scrutiny. But he remained steadfast in his decision to do what was right. Finally, after months of legal battle, Richard was forced into a settlement. A substantial amount of money was returned to Laura's family, along with a formal apology. During all this time, Gabriel and Laura kept their distance. He respected her request for space, although his heart longed for her every day. When everything was resolved, Gabriel sent a simple message to Laura. "It's done. Not to win your love back, but because it was the right thing to do." Days passed without a response, and Gabriel began to accept that perhaps his relationship with Laura had come to an end. He found solace in the fact that he had done the right thing, even if it meant losing the love of his life. On a rainy Sunday afternoon, Gabriel was in his apartment lost in thought when he heard a knock on the door. Upon opening it, his heart almost stopped. It was Laura. She was drenched from the rain, her eyes red from crying. "You really did it," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "You stood up to your own family for justice." Gabriel nodded, unable to speak. Laura took a step forward, entering the apartment. "I've thought a lot during this time," she continued. "About us, about the past, about the future. And I realised that what we have is too rare to be thrown away." "Laura, Gabriel began, but he was interrupted when she pulled him into a passionate kiss. When they parted, Laura smiled through her tears. The most beautiful qualities become useless when the strength of character does not support them, and you have proven to be a man of character, Gabriel. Different from your father in all the ways that matter, and I love you for that." Gabriel hugged her tightly, feeling as if he were finally home. "I love you, Laura. I always have." Their experience taught them that, regardless of where we come from, we can choose to be dignified and righteous people. Gabriel broke away from his father's dark legacy, forging his own path of integrity and compassion. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.